It brings me back to the original point. When I got to the age where I could begin to understand and deal with theology of Judaism, which most people really don't do. I mean, I go to a synagogue because it's convenient, it feels comfortable,
Right.
I like the service. Religion has nothing to do with liking, it's a calling. Hopefully what you do you like, but ultimately it's correct. And sometimes the correct thing and the right thing is not always the happy thing, that's for sure. I came to the realization that conservative Judaism simply wasn't it.
Okay.
And I became an Orthodox rabbi, much to the chagrin of my mother and my whole family.
Yeah.
But I had to do that, and I'm glad I did it, because my whole life, I've been a rabbi 40 years, has been based on one simple point. I believe in the divinity of the Torah. And that's a big issue in today's Jewish world. If you don't, you get all kinds of different manifestations of Judaism. If you do, you stay on the traditional path, which we call today Orthodox.
Okay.
And that's what bolsters me. When I'm alone, and most people are alone when you're in leadership, you have to make a decision. And you
Yeah.
know the decision may be not liked by people, might not be accepted. The only way you can make a decision, and this could be in a political arena as well, is
Yeah.
you fundamentally believe it. You actually believe it. It's not a compromise. This is to you the fact. And that's how I live. Without that, my life would be a misery.
Do you feel like you've grown a tough skin from?
No, I don't
Or
have a tough
you don't
skin.
have a
I
tough
don't like
skin.
when people criticize me. I get very upset, and I get frustrated when they don't understand why I'm correct.
Okay.
Of course, you have to believe you're correct. But then again, you don't make it and there's nobody in the world that makes a decision. And at the end, they make a decision. They say, "My decision is wrong." They make it because they think it's correct. For me, it's the same thing. It plays out. The only difference being, some of my decisions have ramifications not only for myself, but for my synagogue and sometimes the community as well.
Yeah.
And I have to believe in these things. I really do.
Have you admitted when you were wrong? I mean,
Yes,
when
it's
you've.
very rarely happened.
Okay.
Not because I'm so smart. It's I'm generally careful.
Okay.
It can also happen. You see, a lot of my problem is this. I really don't care what other people think or say. The question
Yeah.
to me is, in my own heart, in my own
Yeah.
intellect, and I've give things a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Is this what God would direct me to do by virtue of His law and our tradition?
Uh-huh.
And if I decide that's what it is, I'm unbending on it,
Okay.
which has created certain problems in my life.
What's an example of that when you've come to that conclusion?
Well, recently we had something as an example.
Okay.
It's quasi-religious, it has to do with ethics.
Okay.
About a year and a half ago, Governor Blagojevich got in big trouble. They have a Human Rights Commission,
Okay.
and there was a woman by the name of Mrs. Mohammed sitting on it, and there were 6 Jewish people sitting on it.
Okay.
Mrs. Mohammed is the protocol person for the Nation of Islam for Reverend Farrakhan.
Right.
They were sitting over for 6 months. And they were dealing with, they had 2 meetings as I understood. Nothing
Okay.
was said. She didn't insult any Jews or anything like that.
Okay.
Then Reverend Farrakhan had his annual Savior's Day and went through a diatribe against the Jews because the Jews are gutter people and they're bringing homosexuality and all kinds of degeneracy on the world.
Okay.
And suddenly these 6 people sitting there realized that the name Mohammed may give a hint that she may actually be a member of the Nation of Islam.
Uh-huh.
And they demanded that Blagojevich throw her off the commission. Blagojevich refused. It was in all the papers, very nasty at the time.
Okay.
And they all resigned. I said they were wrong. The 99% of the Jewish community said they were correct. And my argument was, but you sat there with her
For
for
6
6
months.
months. Had you come to the first meeting and saw she was sitting there, she said, with all due respect, ma'am, we do not sit or work with people who belong to an organization that's overtly anti-Semitic. I mean, no one denies that Farrakhan is a racist and an
Right.
anti-Semite. And it's a fact. He's been that way since he was God knows how many years. It's not a revelation that Farrakhan is an anti-Semite. I don't think anybody who's got any brains doesn't know that fact. Why they sacked her in the first place, if as a principle, you will not sit, I would not sit with a member of the KKK,
Right.
I would not sit with a racist who hates black, white, green, or blue, and I will not sit with an anti-Semite, how much more so, on a Human Rights Commission. It's absurd.
But if
But
a
they
person joins a human rights commission, isn't that declaring that they're,
That's correct.
you know,
And that's my
open-minded
argument.
and-
First step, you sat there 6 months. You
Yeah.
didn't know? That's
Right.
ridiculous. Secondly, in the 6 months you sat with the woman, has she said anything that indicates you personally that she
Yeah.
is an anti-Semite or a racist? As much as Farrakhan has these negative facts, and he does, and I really don't like him, you cannot argue the fact that he has done good in the inner city. He supports family life, the work ethic. His boys with the bow ties, you'll find them in the worst places, fighting the dope pushers and things like that.
yeah,
So in the African American community, while I'm sure most African Americans are very well aware of the fact he's an anti-Semite and do not disapprove of that,
yeah,
but they say he does do good.
Right.
You can't argue that point. At any rate, what happened was, I was invited to meet with the governor. There were several of us sitting in the room, a few of us, a couple of clergy, actually myself and 3 African American clergymen, a judge will be nameless, and someone who's already head of a Jewish organization will be nameless.
okay,
And the argument of the black clergy sitting there was, but you sat with her for 6 months. Had you said, I will not sit with someone from the Nation of Islam, one could argue that point.
yeah,
But you have a right to that.
right,
Why did you sit with her for 6 months? If in principle the only complaint you have with her is that she belongs to the Nation of Islam and she's employed by them.
yeah,
She's not said anything or done anything to indicate anything. In fact, what had happened, which was even more pathetic, was these 6 fellows demanded that she
yeah,
make a statement. They offered her, I know, she offered them 2 or 3 statements which they were rejected by them.
so she tried,
Then she finally did give a statement. It was in the Tribune, it was in the Sun-Times,
Oh.
in which, beside everything else she mentioned, she supports gay rights, which is diametrically in opposition to Farrakhan, who considers an evil and a sin.
and was she fired for that
No,
statement?
she was
okay.
not.
Okay,
So one could argue, if you just want to step back a little bit,
yeah,
why was the woman involved with the Nation of Islam? Maybe she saw the few virtues he has, which to me are overshadowed by his negativism, but he does have virtues, and saw them so important as a black woman, as a leader in the black community,
yeah,
as a woman who stood up for social justice all her life. She's no youngster,
right,
okay? And felt she had to make that commitment.
huh,
I don't know. I didn't speak with her. I attempted to speak with her. She was so insulted at that point she would not speak to her. Although I know now, just recently, she wrote a book about her history and her commitment to human rights.
oh,
And recently she had a book signing at the University of Illinois here in Chicago, and it was sponsored by the Jewish Studies Department. So I guess at the end of the day, I'm not so off the base.